how do you really draw out the challenges and the input from everybody in the organization, so that the majority isn't just kind of perpetuating itself in your decision processes? And it's a great question. When I first joined Logitech, I certainly wasn't doing this for purposes of DE&I, but I joined a company where people stopped speaking up because they were telling people what the problems were, and the top people, and then the top people weren't changing that, or maybe the top people were even kind of circling the wagons and saying, we got to focus on a few things because we're in trouble. The company was in trouble, and so nobody spoke up. It was like it was like everybody just kind of sat on the issues, and then so when I came, I every time I met with people, I'd say, tell me what's not working here. Tell me what's not working here, and I've kept doing it ever since. So I would encourage, no matter what your objective, if you just want to have a good business and a better career, every time you meet with people who work for you, indirectly, directly, whatever, or even don't work for you, make sure that your first question, or at least your second one, is, tell me what's not working right now, what's going wrong, because it'll come out. The second thing that we do inside Logitech, which is maybe a little unique to us, that I think does help, is we're such advocates for small teams. I'm scared I spent my whole career in big companies, and they terrify me. There are great big companies. I don't mean great big, but there are great, big companies. But there are also so many big companies that have become these bureaucratic, hierarchical, slow-moving machines that feedback gets trapped in one place or another and never makes its way into a decision maker's vision, or at least not with the right argument. And so nothing happens. So how do you avoid that? Well, one way to avoid it is don't be a big organization. So we're technically, I guess, we're kind of big now. I mean, we're worth $16 or $17 billion, but we're really trying to feel small. I feel like a small company, so we tend to have a lot of small teams. We avoid large organizations. I'm a big believer in the power of pairs. So working one-on-one, I reached this conclusion a couple of years ago that actually most teams are a mirage, or they're an illusion. The only real team there is a team of you and me, and that team of you and me. And the reason for that is that there's one connection. If you add a third person to you and me, there's 3 connections. So we've tripled the number of relationships. If you add 2 more people, you get 5. You've got now 10. So it goes. It becomes just overwhelming. And then if you have 10 or 12, so try to have the smallest teams possible, and always think that each team is actually just a multiple of pairs, and focus on those pairs. And when you focus on those pairs, you tend to listen better. You care about the other person more, because it's not a team. It's it's you. It's you and me. And so we really try to do that. If that sounds kind of theoretical, it is, and we're trying to make it more and more actionable all the time. But I really believe in that. In terms of underrepresented groups, in specifically, how do you go beyond that or in other directions to try to get even more out of there? I think one of the things is being very vocal about how important it is. There was McKinsey wrote an article a couple of years ago, or somebody at McKinsey wrote an article about the business case for diversity, and it's been written, 1,000 times since by 1,000 different organizations, and it's always the same, which is, diverse companies win more, better. They're just better, and there's a whole lot of reasons for that. I'm sure we could theorize on that for a while, but they just do, and they will. When I first joined Logitech, I was really focused on design, and I used to, once in a while in the early years, I'd show a chart that showed design companies' performance from a return standpoint, investor returns, and it would be a line that went kind of up and to the right, and then average companies, it would be a line that went up and to the right, but at a much more modest slope, meaning design companies outperformed non-design companies 3-to-1 in total shareholder returns. Now, what's a design company? A design company is a company that people think of as really good at design. People like Nike, like Apple, I think like us now. So, and that is absolutely true. But I think it's also going to be even more true of diverse companies that really adopt diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. Those who get on board early, and they're on early, and many of them are, are going to outperform their peers by a mile. And so I think there's a great reason for that. I think talking about it just not only is the right thing to do, but the right thing to do for your business. It fertilizes the field and helps make it happen.